The United States used to be the only country considered to be the land of opportunity, but today there are now scores of other nations that have overtaken it. The quiet neighbor to the north, Canada, is prominent among these nations. Today we'll be revealing 7 essentials you need to know in order to live and work in Canada. Starting at number 7, Canada has 2 official languages. Canada has 2 official languages, French and English. Approximately 50% of Canadians, or 17.2 million people, claim English as their first and only language. The majority of Canadians can trace their lineage to one of the British Isles. The percentage of English fluency in Canada increases to over 90% if we take into account Canadians who speak English as a second language, mainly immigrants and French Canadians, or native English speakers who at some point picked up a second language. The French mother tongue that their forefathers brought with them from France has been given a special flavor and zest by Canadians since the 1600s. It's also important to note that there are differences between French spoken in Canada and French spoken elsewhere in the world if you plan to study French in post-secondary institutions or learn the language there. Canadian French is an official subset of French. It features many Canadian French dialects such as Quebec French, the Acadian dialect from Atlantic Canada, and the Prairie dialect from Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Number 6. Healthcare services. One of the cornerstones on which friendly welcome to Canada received by newcomers is constructed by the healthcare system, which is renowned across the world for its excellence. It is given through a system that is publicly funded, largely free at the point of use, and relies heavily on the services of the private sector. The provinces are in charge of managing healthcare, even if some federal money is used to pay for it. Everyone who enrolls in the program receives the same quality of service and a health card from the Provincial Ministry of Health. Their Southern American neighbors are envious of Canada's healthcare system. It is a tax-funded Medicare system where the government provides basic health insurance for citizens who then receive their care from their private sector. It's similar to the NHS in that you receive any necessary medical services for free, just that it requires a bit of patience. Permanent residents are eligible for provincial coverage, but they may need to wait a few months for it to begin in some provinces. During that time, private comprehensive health insurance policies are offered. Regardless of age or country, Cigna Global, a market leader in these insurance policies, offers 12-month coverage to anyone moving to Canada. However, visitors and temporary residents will need a private policy for the duration of their visit. Number 5. Cost of living. Is Canada expensive? Well, the simple answer is yes. Living expenses in Canada are comparable to those in the US. Gas, for example, is more expensive in Canada. However, rent generally tends to be less expensive, particularly when compared to major cities like New York or San Francisco. Nonetheless, living costs are generally comparable between Canada and the US. Of course, the cost of living can differ greatly across a nation the size of Canada. First of all, each province is unique and has its own administration, as well as unique income and sales tax. Similar to the United States, provinces that are busier and more populous tend to be more expensive to live in, while areas that are a little more remote and sleepy tend to be less expensive. Living outside of a major city might reduce your costs wherever you are. Think about surrounding suburbs if you wish to live close to a big metropolis and save some money. Living in Gatineau rather than Ottawa or Laval rather than Montreal could help you save a significant amount of money. So you need to research the city or province that can help you save money. Number 4. Employment insurance. This is a significant advantage that sets Canada apart from many developing nations. If you have worked for at least 600 hours, about 3 months, of continuous full-time employment, you're eligible to receive a recurring income equal to up to 55% of your average weekly wage should you lose your job for a period of time not exceeding 9 months. The Employment Insurance, or EI program, offers short-term financial assistance to unemployed individuals while they hunt for work or pursue skill development. Workers who take time off work due to specific life events such as illness, pregnancy, caring for a newborn or newly adopted child, caring for a critically ill or injured person, or even caring for a family member who is seriously ill with a high risk of death are also entitled to special benefits under the EI program. Number 3. Diversity. Canada is a multicultural country. The nations, races, religions, and ethnic backgrounds of Canadians are extremely diverse. This multicultural diversity comes from centuries of immigration. As a result, one of the defining characteristics of Canadian society is today its diversified population. The Canadian government respects the diversity of its citizens and works to preserve their cultural heritage. As long as they do not violate any Canadian laws, the government encourages Canadians to be proud of their language, religion, and heritage, as well as to maintain their rituals and traditions through the Canadian Multiculturalism Act. Generations of immigrants have received a warm welcome to Canada, and the Canadian ethos places multiculturalism at the heart of government policy. More than 40 currently sitting members of Parliament were born abroad. You will come across a wide variety of languages, religions, and cultures in many major cities, as well as many rural areas. After migrating to Canada, you don't have to give up your culture or your values, but you do need to evolve in order to successfully adapt and have the best chance of success. Both you and those around you will gain from keeping an open mind. Number 2, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's important to know your rights before moving to Canada and throughout your stay. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms protects all citizens of the nation from the policies and acts of all spheres and levels of government by guaranteeing specific civil and political rights. The Charter establishes the foundation of Canadian political, civil, and social society in this way, and it also describes the kind of welcome that newcomers might anticipate in Canada. Any person whose rights or freedoms under the Charter have been violated or denied can file an application with a court with sufficient jurisdiction to request any suitable and just remedy the court deems necessary. If it is determined, after considering all the evidence, that the admission would bring the administration of justice in disrepute, the court must reject any evidence that was obtained in a way that violated or denied any rights or freedoms provided by the Charter. And last but not least, you need to know the most in-demand type of jobs in Canada. Even though Canada offers a wide variety of career options, some industries have a higher employment rate. First on the list of jobs in demand in Canada is web development. Web developers are needed at every level in both governmental and private companies, small, medium, and large. A web developer is someone who develops or program applications. A web developer in Canada makes average yearly pay of about $69,305. There's also the human resources manager job. The HR managers are tasked with finding the best employees for their company. An HR manager in Canada has an average yearly pay of $89,000. Electrical engineers are also in demand in Canada. They build, design, define, test, and evaluate electrical systems and components. They're also in charge of ensuring the security of these systems. The average salary for an electrical engineer in Canada is $91,832 per year. There's also the aerospace engineering job. And this is another job that is in high demand in Canada. The number of employment prospects in aerospace engineering has increased exponentially as a result of the rapid growth of two of the biggest aerospace businesses in the world, Boeing and Airbus. And this sector comprises professionals with the titles of aerodynamics engineer, avionics mechanic installer, aerospace structural engineer, aeronautical engineer, and systems engineer. And the starting salary of an aerospace engineer is around $90,000 per year. Other jobs that are in demand in Canada include project manager, professor, lecturer, financial officers, driver, cloud architect, and healthcare and social assistants.